Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, political elbow grease. I'm bringing you this program today based on a article I read in the San Francisco Chronicle this week about the uh, Southeast Community Center in the Bayview Hunters Point. Well, as it uh, as I learned in reading this article, San Francisco City Planning tried to pull a fast one, and City Hall under Mayor Ed Lee, the late Mayor Ed Lee, tried to pull a fast one on the black community again. It has to do with the fact that there's been a long time planning of some PUC land slated for a community center, I believe at 1550 Evans Street here in the city. And it's 45,000 square feet. And the planning, which was all you know, years in the making, well, some private developer came in and they said, well, we can't use this just for a community center. And so they ran up the flagpole with a proposal to split the use, putting low income housing with this other, with this community center. Well, they didn't tell anybody in the who had already worked together and got the ball rolling on this community center. And the funniest line of the article was from someone in city planning who said, we were going to tell the community, we were going to let them know what we were doing eventually. They planned months and months and months, thousands upon thousands of dollars of planning, and they were going to spring it on at the last moment to the community center who already thought that the groundbreaking was imminent. And because these uh, community people knew what was going on or kept in close contact with all relevant people, smelled something funny. And as it was announced in the paper this week, the deal that this developer tried to run up the flagpole, obviously to make some money, has been pushed back or pushed out of the picture, and they're going to go forward with the original plan that was agreed upon, which is a community center. Now, where I say political elbow grease, uh, most young people that I know never heard of the term elbow grease. And when they you do hear of it, um, it reminds me of when I was 10 years old. Now, of course, I'll say that when I was 10 or younger and I heard it in my house, I thought it was a product. Well, I lived a little while and it was explained to me elbow grease is just extra effort into cleaning. And I think that we need extra effort into cleaning up some of the junk that San Francisco is trying to uh, hoist onto us. And by us paying attention to what City Hall is doing, we will do that. Political uh, elbow grease is just you're just scrubbing on the way you really are down at City Hall doing this and doing that and making sure that whatever you see for your community is not uh, turned over or turned upside down by people who have big eyes and see profit. A lot of the things that we encounter in on the local level, state level, and nationally can be a lot of the problems can be solved if we just use political elbow grease, meaning if we take time to do the extra, to be involved, be aware, to where when somebody does try and slip in a piece of paper in 100-page document, we know where that one page is, and we can view it and act accordingly. When people try to pull over a fast one, and the reason why they're successful is because somebody was falling asleep at the wheel. Now, where I see that most recently is the Golden State Warriors planned arena here. No one in their right mind would agree that building a 18,000 seat arena right next door to a children's hospital is a good idea. But because people were asleep at the wheel, or they did not have any political elbow grease, they didn't put the extra effort in, um, this particular project is more than half built. Now, don't tell anybody it'll never see an NBA basketball game. I'm telling you that. However, political elbow grease is something that we definitely need more of as we enter a new administration, regardless of who the administrator is. In this case, it's Mayor-elect London Breed, and I like the woman. Is she perfect? Absolutely not. Does she have some shenanigans or spirits running around in her apartment or in her office? I believe so. However, I honestly believe that she was the best candidate for the job, and thankfully, she is our next mayor. Now, I want people to understand that just because she's mayor, and if you're black especially, don't think that London Breed's going to do everything for black people, and we don't need to use our own political elbow grease to make sure um, we get the things that we need to move up. Now, it's gonna take an awful lot of effort, and I love the challenge. I really do. We really have to help her be successful. If I was to um, look at it another way, I would like to bring in this term navigation center. The navigation center is based on a concept, and it's, I guess, somewhat successful, where the city has these facilities and they are to help people navigate back into permanent housing. They said 10 weeks, and we knew that was a joke, maybe 6 months placement. I read something where it was half the people who went through the navigation center have permanent housing. I don't know how accurate that is, but I'll take them at, you know, their word. But the term navigation center is the wrong term for the project. I would suggest that the navigation centers for San Francisco, I think there are 4 or 5 of them, be renamed. And it may be a strange name, but I would suggest they be renamed Help Me Help You Centers. And the reason why is you want to engage with those who you're trying to help, but you want them to be a part of it. Now, I have a brother who went through the process of the navigation center. And the first thing that they told him after going all the way up the steps was, we lost your paperwork. So when he tried to go about it again, the one thing that they offered him was the worse than his current situation. And so he didn't take it. But then there's the fact that they didn't know what his needs were. They never asked him. They just was saying, here, you're homeless, take this place. And the place that they were offering him was worse than being homeless. They thought by just him getting into this place, that was it. They never asked him, how can we help you? That is key. And if you're going to have, if you're going to use political elbow grease, you're going to do the extra. And I'm saying that San Francisco is not doing the extra to help people. Now, I have to interject a story, a personal story again here, to explain a point. Well, 2 stories. One story is I'm driving looking for a place to park. And I'm going through an alley and I come out and I see a lady who is taking her dog for a walk to do its business. As God is my witness, I'm watching this lady right at the right time. If I was 20 seconds early or 20 seconds late, I would have missed something, but it was such an interesting sight. Her dog, a little tiny dog, I don't know what breed, but the size of a chihuahua. A little tiny dog decided to do its business right next to where another small dog had already deposited and its owner did not pick up after it. So this woman, 40-ish, had her dog go and do its business. And she decided, well, she was going to clean up after her dog. I'm telling you that where the dog deposited its business was right next to this other. And the woman did the whole thing with the plastic bag around her hand, reached down, instead of picking up both because it was that close, she just reached down and picked up what her dog had deposited. And I'm thinking to myself, woman, it is not going to kill you to pick up after somebody else's mess. And a thought came to me. You know, sometimes we have to pick up after other people just so things are cleaner. And for her to reach down and carefully take up just what her dog deposited leaving the rest down there was the most ridiculous thing that I've seen in the city of San Francisco. How can a person not think in that manner? Well, fast forward. I put that in a book that I wrote. But fast forward, after I published the book, I'm in another area. This is years after, and wouldn't you know it, I see somebody had not cleaned up after its dog. And so I'm just sitting in my vehicle and I'm thinking to myself, boy, some of these people. Then, as God is my witness again, a plastic bag blew by and a thought came to me. Well, Alan, so I got out, I got the plastic bag, and I picked up the dog mess that somebody refused. My point is, hey, it didn't kill me. Does my face look like it's falling off my face because I picked up after somebody? And the point that I see in a lot of us using our political elbow grease is we know what's going on and we're willing to do that extra just so things are right. Now, in looking at this and telling this next story, it reminds me of, bad images in your head. Now, I'm trying to merge this into my political elbow grease. And if you don't follow the story completely, I'll try and tie it together. When I was a little boy, since I've never been able to walk, for the first 6 years of my life, I crawled everywhere. But the image that is seared in my mind is when I was playing with my siblings, we lived on a hill. And the image that is in my mind is me running down and back up the hill on fours like a dog. And so we moved away from there, and the image never bothered me until after I got my first apartment. I never thought of it when I was at home, but I just started thinking back, and the image bothered me of me running up and down the hill on fours. And so this image, it was just a negative image that was in my head, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So what did I do? When I got my first car, I drove it. It was a 1975 Ford Maverick. I drove it up and down that hill just to say, this is me now. Well, that helped, but the image was still there. So a few years later, I had rented a Lincoln Town Car for something that I was doing out of town. And I took that Lincoln up and down that same street, same hill. I used to own a Cadillac Eldorado. I took that Cadillac Eldorado up and down that same street. I think the Cadillac was before the Lincoln, but so. Then I bought a brand new Ford pickup truck. And I took that brand new Ford pickup truck up and down that same street. After that, the image doesn't bother me. Now, I've since bought a brand new, uh, another brand new truck. I haven't taken it up that and down that street because the negative image that was seared in my mind for years, I dealt with it by driving a vehicle up and down that same street. Now, what I'm saying here is you have to do something extra to overcome something. And in my situation, you can call it political elbow grease because of the fact that the little extra elbow grease that I use to get over something is worked. Now, sometimes it'll work the first time. In my case, it was the fourth try. And I'm saying that politically speaking, if black people are going to be able to get over the hump of being disrespected by white politics in San Francisco, we're going to have to continue to go up and down. Just because the Southeast Center, Community Center, got the victory in this case, that don't mean blacks are on the right road. Just because we have a black woman that most blacks voted for as mayor of San Francisco, that don't mean that's enough. We may have to bring a Cadillac up and down the hill, if you will, and another vehicle up and down the hill. But I'm saying that the political elbow grease, the extra effort to get us where we need to be politically, is what I'm saying by using our political elbow grease. And so when I look at all that San Francisco is going through right now, I need to announce next, when is it? The 18th, I believe. It may be a Wednesday of July. There's going to be a hearing at the San Francisco City Hall, I believe in the Board of Supervisors chamber, scheduled for 10 a.m. It's a committee hearing of government oversight and something hearing. They're going to talk about racism from the standpoint of an awful lot of black city employees are being marginalized and discriminated against in city government. And so there's going to be this big hearing to talk it over. Well, using my political elbow grease, I started last Tuesday, or not this past Tuesday, but a week ago, telling my first of 10 stories of egregious acts of racism perpetrated by city leadership against members of the black community. And I'm sure it's not only the black community that's being discriminated against and marginalized, but when I tell these 10 stories of egregious acts, there's 11 stories. The 11th story is going to tie all the 10 together. And the reason why is I know City Hall. City Hall is going to hear a bunch of people, black people, complaining about certain treatments, and they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything substantive. Now, if we were all a bunch of gays, they would roll out the red carpet and do whatever and straighten the problem out. But because it's the black community, no. And so I know this. And so I'm going to tell these 10 stories, and then the 11th story that I'm going to tell is going to tie all things in, and it's going to really bring shame to San Francisco City Hall, God willing. And the fact that I'm bringing this to the city leaders, the 10 stories I've already sent to the full board. So they already have them. But by me telling them one by one, I know what I'm doing. I am using political elbow grease. I'm putting in the extra effort knowing what I'm going to get out of the end. And the goal is to get City Hall to clean up its act when it comes to disrespecting the black community by treating it with indifference or marginalization, just flat out racism. And so many people who think, well, we got something here with the new mayor and the new head of the Board of Supervisors who will be in office only 6 months, Malia Cohen, this black woman, not a fan, but I unanimously voted her board president. Hey, I'll go along with that. But the fact of the matter is for us to be in such a situation, I am reminded by the fact that I declared January 2018 as the first Black Power Month. And that Black Power Month is means education, love for our fellow man here in San Francisco, and the fact that it is something that, hey, may take years to go along with. It got a rough start. I had an awful lot of bad things happen as far as the black community are concerned in the year 2018. But we're on a roll. Now, are we going to just sit back and let London Breed and Malia Cohen for the next 6 months do things by themselves as they help their communities? No. We need to go on in there and help out. And if it means just a little extra, remember. Now, since I don't use foul language and I'm not into, whatever, sometimes you got to pick up somebody else's schnizzit. Because the fact is it is for the betterment of all. I don't mind doing a little extra, just as long as the job gets done to where I'm proud of the final product. And I'm recommending that my fellow black citizens of San Francisco and anyone who agrees would use their extra, just the political elbow grease needed to get us where we need to be. Until next time.